All right, we have a poll in the chat section. We want to get you all's opinion. Offensive player of the game, Will Howard. He threw for how many was it? Four touchdowns, two touchdowns in this game. 15 of 24, 247 yards. Quinshon Judkins, who had 15 carries, 76 yards, and two touchdowns. Travion Henderson, who had 11 carries, 74 yards, but he also added two receptions with 19 yards on top of that. Or Carnell Tate, the hometown kid who came home, four receptions, 52 yards, and two touchdowns in this one. Let's start there, Mike. Who's your choice for player of the game?
Yeah, it's definitely Carnell Tate, the hometown kid, man, going back, you know, into Chicago, getting two touchdowns. He said that there were probably over 30 people hitting him up, to come watch him play and wanting tickets. So, I just think that it was a blessing, all the turmoil that he's been through and the adversity that he's faced and watching him come through that. I think that this was amazing, man. And you could just tell the players wanted it for Carnell as well. So definitely Carnell Tate game for me.
There you go. Yeah, I liked Carnell in this one as well. Felt like they were kind of targeting him early. He had the catch on third down where he just didn't quite get there, but then later on they were able to target him in the red zone and on that deep pass that I didn't even see until the replay because all the fans stood up. It's like
I can't man, don't even get me started on the camera angles that the Big Ten was pushing out. That was terrible.
It was. It was. I tweeted out. I was like, I think they got so used to the Ohio State fans not standing up at the home games that they're like, oh yeah, they won't stand up at Wrigley Field. Nope, they stand up at Wrigley Field apparently. So, yeah, John Bruce Ferguson is right there, man. If they play like that in the first quarter next week, it's gonna be ugly. Let's start there, Mike. That is obviously the part that I think people are taking away the most with this game was the first quarter just plain and simple wasn't good enough. Even though you did have what probably should have been a touchdown to Jeremiah Smith, I didn't see the ball hit the ground. I think it hit the ground, but you couldn't say for sure it hit the ground. You didn't actually see it happen, but of course they took that away from him. Even then, Ohio State was still in third and long situations in that first quarter multiple times. They couldn't really run the ball very much. Quinshon and Trey, when they were getting loose, it kind of was by their own doing. Other players were in the
Mhm.
backfield, or Northwestern players were in the backfield multiple times, and Quinshon and Trey were having to break tackles and make guys miss in the backfield. I mean, what's your thoughts on that first quarter offensively, and then we'll get to the defense in just a second.
Yeah, it was like guys were coming on delayed pressures. They had extra guys in the box, and I felt like this was more of a game where we should have opened it more up in the passing game early instead of trying the runs. And I hate doing the trickery stuff early as well. Like I felt like we didn't need to do that early in the game. Like let that come later on in the game instead of early. But I mean, it's something that this Buckeye team is going to have to clean up, what it looks like. And I mean, if you see it on film, right, if you're a defensive coordinator, what are you going to try to do? I want to make Will Howard have to throw the ball downfield. That's what I want to do. I want to make these wide receivers have to make the difficult catches as well. And that looks like that's what Northwestern's game plan was. And they were, had a lot of guys in the box and we weren't doing well. Now, I didn't understand, later it seemed like our run game started hitting, I guess, in the second half and we went away from it. But I know we were talking about like the first quarter. We definitely got to do better with that in Indiana. And not just on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, we need to be better. I hate how we allow people to get long sustaining drives instead of like getting a quick 3 and out sometimes, and then allowing them to convert on third and longs. It's ridiculous. We got to clean that up.
Yeah, for sure. If you look over at the defense, I think the defense kind of set the tone for the entire first quarter on that first drive when they let Northwestern just kind of drive down the field and take about
Mhm.
5 minutes off the clock. Thankfully, they got the fumble, which Jack Sawyer kind of poked out there. At first, I thought maybe he punched it from behind him, but when I went back and looked at it, he didn't really punch it all that hard from
Yeah.
behind him. Jack Lausch just didn't have great control of the ball, which is fine. I mean, Davis Ingmanosin got it, and he went with it and had some good yards. But even when Northwestern came out the second time, their offense was still able to move the ball relatively well. So I don't know. I don't feel great about these cornerbacks right now. I know Ohio State just won 31-7, but
Yeah,
Burke, he Kurtz was making some good catches on him. Davison and Benosin, he kind of got things together later on, but still had a bad penalty. Jermaine got absolutely cooked on that one route. He was thankful that
a
Jack
couple
Lausch,
times.
he overthrew him. I mean, there were just some bad cornerback play in this one, and I'm thinking to myself, you're not going to be able to get away with that against Oregon. I know Oregon doesn't have Tez Johnson, but you can't get away with that against Oregon, and you definitely can't get away with that against Indiana too. They actually have some
Yeah.
good wide receivers there that are going to make you pay.
And a quarterback who's known for putting it in the breadbasket. So
Yep.
I mean, a lot of those passes that this Northwestern quarterback, missed on. Indiana's quarterback isn't going to do it, and it kind of, from Ryan Day's message of last week, right? Like, are you this team? Are you this dominant team, or is it just you do it when you want to show up? And that's what I was worried about. Like, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see this team come out, be dominant, play dominant for a full fourth quarter, 4 quarters, and I just feel like we continually don't see that. I'm hoping that they can clean it up. You know, you want to make the excuses and say, hey, on offense, we weren't running stuff that we're probably going to run against Indiana, right? On defense, we probably, aren't going to run this stuff or whatever, against Indiana, maybe. But still, I mean, there's fundamental things that are lacking. Um, that's an issue.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Ohio State only had one possession there in the first quarter, and Northwestern just continued to drain the clock. Ohio State got the ball with about 8 minutes, and then they didn't get the ball and again until about 12 minutes left in the second quarter. So I know that the game is sped up and the way things operate now give you a shorter game, but I also see teams, all over the country putting up way more points just by their offense. Not a whole lot of turnovers and pick sixes and stuff like that. So Ohio State has to figure out a way to get the defense off the
Explosive
field
plays.
quicker
Yeah.
and explosive plays, right? They have to get that as well. Let's talk about some of the explosive plays. Will Howard did have a really nice pass, I felt like, to Jeremiah Smith. Felt like there was definitely some pass interference on that one, but the refs are going to be blind where they want to be blind. And
Mhm.
he also had a good throw to Carnell Tate. Did have to dive for it, but I felt like it was in good position where he was able to make the catch. Thank goodness Will Howard has really, really good wide receivers. And I mean, I get the concerns for Will Howard's deep ball. Don't get me wrong, but I also don't see a whole lot of great deep ball throwing around the country right
Mhm.
now. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, Will Howard is not great at it, but I don't know if there's really anybody in the country right now that's all that great at it. What's your thoughts on the deep ball today?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was saying Will Howard was dotting it up today, man. And I think one of the
Hmm.
most underrated throws was his throw to G Scott right over
Oh, that was
the
perfect.
linebacker, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I felt like Will Howard put it in the bread basket. Also, I feel like on that play, in a couple previous years, we have seen guys drop that pass. So I also want to give G Scott a shout out. Like, bruh, like that's the type of stuff that we need. Hope that G Scott can is healthy and whatever. If I felt like he got a stinger or something, but hopefully he stays healthy and we're able to see a lot more of him in that Indiana game. But yeah, I mean, the Cardinal Tate. I mean, to be honest, he did put the ball in positions a couple times where the receivers could have made plays and things like that, which is what we asked him to do, right?
Hmm.
So I don't have any issues. I felt like he did a better job, this week.
Yeah, I
Definitely,
think
I feel like he did a better job this
Yeah, I think they were kind of giving him the deep balls a little bit more in this one, right? They really wanted to take away the run game. They really wanted to take away Will Howard's ability to use his legs, and they were going to say, "Hey, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to throw the ball, 10, 20 yards in order to do that." And I felt like Will Howard, I mean, this is just me personally. I don't know if anybody else, let me know how you would grade Will Howard's performance, maybe letter grade style in the chat, but I felt like Will Howard had a really good day throwing the ball. It might have been one of his best days throwing the ball overall. The throw to Jeremiah Smith, the throw to Carnell Tate, the throw to G. Scott, even that throw to Jeremiah Smith over the middle where he kind of got hurt a little bit after he was done running there. I felt like that was thrown in just the right spot to give Jeremiah Smith the opportunity to go and run with it. Now, Jeremiah
Mhm.
Smith, very fast, way faster than anybody on Northwestern's team, as you could see on that play. So he's going to make the quarterback look good, but I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of terrible decision making or terribly off throws or anything like that. Even the throw, I forget when it was in the game, but the throw to Carnell Tate, I think it was, where Carnell had to kind of stop his route a little bit. I felt like that was placed well because if he kept leading him too much, then the defender would have had the opportunity because the defender was so high up over the
Mhm.
top of Carnell Tate. We've seen CJ Stroud do that a number of times where he kind of has to break his route down and stop a little bit to get the ball. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't intentional by Will Howard, maybe it was, but overall, I felt like it was a good day throwing the ball for Will Howard in this one. Quinshawn Judkins in this one, Mike, he did have a little bit of a tough time. He does end with leading the rusher, 76 yards and 2 touchdowns, had a long run of 17. Most of that work came in the second half when things got a little bit better. What'd you see from Quinshawn in this one? What'd you think?
Yeah, honestly, I loved how hard Quinshawn was running. On one play, though, I don't know what he was doing when he could have got the first down, and he just like ran into the defender that his teammate was blocking. I didn't understand that. I don't know what he saw, but I saw green grass, but maybe his average would be even better. But shout out to Quinshawn also. The two goal line plays, man, getting it in the touchdown and just being able to run behind his pass, man. Shout out to Q. And also, man, Travion out there averaging 6.7 yards a carry. I liked what I seen from our running backs. I liked watching Trey run behind his pass. If Trey could just do that every time consistently, run behind them pads, bro, this is what you'll see.
Yeah, Travion was huge today. Just a spectacular play from him. You can really tell that the offensive coaching staff wants to try to get the ball in his hands as much as possible, but
Mm-hmm.
he is such an asset in the pass blocking game and everything else too that it's like he's just the ultimate guy that you look at his carries, you look at his receptions, and you're like, wow, that's not very many, but you watch the game and he is constantly doing stuff out there. Yeah,
Yep.
Doug said in the chat, Coach Locke is making a big difference right now. I think both these players were really good when they came to Ohio State. Travion Henderson, obviously, as a freshman, and he's grown over his time here. Quinshawn Judkins last year at Ole Miss, but you've seen the development of both of them, I think, in different ways this year. Specifically, Travion Henderson with being healthy and his pass blocking and everything he's able to do. What'd you think of that jump? Was that needed by Travion
No.
Henderson there, Mike?
No, I thought Travion could have actually. I felt he could have cut back in and got behind his pads and ran into the defender. Because the defender would have been off. I felt like that second defender would have been off balance, but hey, he did it because like the guy seemed like he already committed to what he was about to do, which I understand. Like that's why Travion knew to jump. Like you already saw, go ahead, juke back in, and then run downhill into that next defender with your pass. Is what I was kind of hoping that he would do, but because sometimes, man, especially with having that second defender there, I was kind of a little scared for Travion. I'm like, is he gonna get a chance to come back down? Like,
Right?
that's what I was like, because the other guy could have cleaned him up, but you know, um, it just comes with the game. Like, you just know you're going to see things like that again. You're going to see it on tape and be like, man, I could have did this, I could have did that, and for next time. So
Yeah, I think that was kind of just like a showboat play by Trevion there a little bit,
facts.
which I mean, I don't hate it. Would I like for you to, maybe turn up field and do it a little bit more? Maybe, but at the end of the day, like, it's fine. He kind of knew the game was over and he wanted to kind of do a little bit of a highlight play. It's all good with me. I felt like the game was over much sooner than Ryan Day took the starters out in the second half. Didn't take them out until like what was it, the last drive of the game in the fourth quarter. I I don't know. I was talking to a Minnesota fan on Twitter because him and we kind of talk everything the Big Ten sometimes, and he was like,
Mhm.
"What in the world? Like, what is Ryan Day thinking?" And I was like, "Dude, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, he's been better this season about rotating guys and getting the players out, but I mean, I don't understand this field, this team that was obviously trying to hurt Ohio State players. Like, I don't understand what Ryan Day was thinking or seeing to be like, oh yeah, it's a good idea to continue to put all of our starting players out there in the middle of the fourth quarter. Like, I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, I knew exactly what was going on in Ryan Day's head. I want to say we kind of was talking about it in the spaces. Is well, Ryan Day. This is how Ryan Day's brain is, right? It'll be 31-7 or whatever, or let's say it was 28-7 at the time, and you have they go ahead and score another touchdown. Well, in Ryan Day, this is what he would tell you guys straight up. I already know what he would say. Well, guys, it was 28-7. I just felt if Northwestern went and scored again, now it's a two possession game, right? And then he'd have made these excuses about what's going on offense and and just felt like, well, and the defense just wasn't, finding their rhythm. So I just felt like I had to do that. I mean,
Yeah,
does that sound spot on? Like,
yeah.
like we've heard it
That sounds like a
before.
Ryan Day answer.
We've heard it before. So I
I
mean,
I would understand that to a certain extent. I wouldn't agree with it, but I would understand that to a certain extent with the defense, right? Like you get up three scores and then the defense, you put them out there for one more drive and you just kind of let them make sure the other team doesn't score. I would get that. But to bring the offense out again, and not just again, but what was it, one or two more times after that as well? Like I I don't know. I don't understand. You saw G Scott go down. You saw Jeremiah Smith go down or like limp off the field. He didn't go down, but you saw him limp off the field. I don't understand how you have this game against Indiana coming up, a top five matchup at home. You have the game against the team up north, which you've not beaten in the last, I mean, the last three seasons, really, but you could say the last four because Michigan decided to wimp out in the COVID year. But whatever it might be, like you haven't beat them in so long. You need to get the win against them. Like I don't know. I don't know what's
I
going on in his
I
mind.
feel like the reason why Ryan Day does not lose to the teams, the unranked teams, right? The reason why he has a
Hmm.
perfect record against them is because he thinks week to week. So I mean, like he said it too. Like he talks about it. Like we are focused on this week where we heard about behind the scenes Urban Meyer. We losing to Purdue and Iowa games because he's looking on ahead to the next games, right? Like
Right.
we heard about those things, and I feel like Ryan Day is the type of guy that's like, I'm not thinking about Indiana until after we beat Northwestern, and we need to beat Northwestern and do it like this. Until
Yeah.
that mission's accomplished, he's not thinking about nothing else at all. Where other coaches will probably do that.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't know. I guess that has pros and cons, right? Like I appreciate that Ryan today wants to win every single game and doesn't want it to be close. Blow the team out, stuff like that. Secure the win, all that stuff. And I'm sure I'd be saying something different back in the Urban era when you lose to Purdue and Iowa and stuff like that. But like, I feel like there's just so much talent on this team that even your backups, like C.J. Hicks and Caden Curry, Arvell Reese was a leading tackler on the day. Like all these backups you have, they should be good enough that you should be able to send them out in the second half against this isn't Penn State. This isn't even Wisconsin. This is Northwestern. Like you should be able to send them out in the second half against them. You had a Northwestern
They're
kid who was one of their
fresher.
really
Yeah.
yeah, like you had a Northwestern kid who was one of their really, really high recruits transfer in. The dude never sniffed the field once, and then he transferred out right away because he knew there was never a chance for him to play. You have
Right.
such a talent advantage on this team that it should never matter. But it is what it is, I guess.